What's up, everyone? I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Alright, before we dive into things, as always, please do head over, check out my website, btcsessions.ca. There you can book me for your own BTC session. We can talk about Bitcoin, learn about wallets, proper security, anything like that. All you need to do is head here and fill out the form down below. Also, over on my Teespring, I did just make a new shirt. It is the hashtag Bitcoin Twitter shirt. This is, of course, in reference to Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, tweeting out hashtag Bitcoin Twitter instead of using the typical hashtag crypto Twitter. So long live Bitcoin Twitter. Moving on, we're going to dive right into it. The markets, some interesting stuff today. Again, not much into the other coins, but I do enjoy seeing the shuffle happen when things move around. I just find it interesting. So a couple things here. Ethereum has flipped XRP again. They've been kind of battling back and forth, but across the board, everything's kind of down today. But that said, Ethereum is back in the number 2 spot. And EOS jumped ahead of Litecoin yet again. So they've been kind of back and forth, but Litecoin is still up ahead of Tether and Bitcoin Cash, which it was kind of down in the lower top 10 previously before that big rally. And speaking of the big Litecoin rally, I touched on this before, and I'll link to that video down below, but Litecoin's halving is coming up. So the Bitcoin halving is when the supply of newly created coins gets cut in half. The same thing happens on Litecoin, and that happens this year. That actually happens in August of this year, though the date is not entirely clear yet until we get a little bit closer. But the supply of Litecoin is going to be cut in half, and there is some speculation that people are beginning to price that in. Now, I do think that is a factor in the recent run-up, but in my opinion, I think there could be some more. Again, this is not financial advice, of course, but given how crazy markets can get in the crypto space, I don't think we've seen the last of it. And the reason why I'll show you here. This is a chart of 2015 when the Litecoin halving happened. And so earlier in the year, you saw prices that were less than 1% of a Bitcoin. So around 0.7, 0.6% of a Bitcoin. And then around the halving time, and actually this is a month prior to the halving, you had almost 3% of a Bitcoin, so 2.8%, 2.9% of a Bitcoin at the peak. So it ended up doing about between a 3 and 4x about a month prior to the halving. So the halving itself wasn't necessarily affecting this price. It wasn't a supply and demand issue per se. It was more people FOMOing into Litecoin preemptively, expecting that the halving would spur on a massive rally. But really, it just was a bunch of people FOMOing in and then selling the top and an inevitable crash down. Now, it should be noted that for a number of months after, Litecoin was still much higher than it was earlier in the year, but it kind of dipped back down. And I mean, today, Litecoin is about 1.1% of a Bitcoin. And it's very briefly did kind of go back up to around 3% of a Bitcoin. But if you zoom out here, I'm just going to kind of show you where it was previous years. This is the month prior to the halving. And if you look back, it's just been kind of a solid decline since the beginning of Litecoin. And if you look forward, you can kind of see that there's that spike there in 2015, and it just kind of petered out. And then this was the massive craziness of 2017. And again, like you look at these peaks in 2017 and the crazy rallies that it had, and it still didn't even really capture, I don't even think it hit the top of where it did around halving time in the subsequent crazy markets of 2017. So it's just kind of a downward slope for Litecoin across the board. But hey, speculators that might want to dive in on this kind of stuff, they do tend to eat that type of volatility up. Anyways, I'm not going to spend any more time on this. Let's jump ahead to something that is face palmerific. Oh my god, if Quadriga could fuck up any more, I was going to say I'd be stupendously surprised, but I wouldn't be stupendously surprised because holy god. So what happened here, now those of you unfamiliar with Quadriga, are you living under a rock? But if you are, essentially what was once the largest Canadian exchange is more or less completely missing, $140 million worth of cryptocurrency, and has another 50 million locked up in third parties in fiat. So essentially they're insolvent, and they're trying to round up what they do have, any of the assets that they do have access to. What had happened is the CEO died while in India. Lots of speculation around that, but I'm going to leave that alone. Essentially, the cold storage, the secure wallets that were used for the exchange, died with him. He held the keys. He was the only one who held the keys, and that is the story put forth by Quadriga. Well, they're going through their hot wallets, so the day-to-day wallets that were used for regular ins and outs of the exchange, trying to recover those funds, and they did recover a little bit less of $1 million, but it would seem that they inadvertently sent around $468,000 worth of crypto to one of the cold storage wallets that they no longer have access to. So essentially, it's like they took a big pile of cash and threw it right into a bonfire. What do you say to this? Come on, guys. Oh, good. It's heartbreaking because I feel for the people that had money on Quad, because realistically, you're not going to see that money again. Like I very much doubt you're going to see that money again, and they're not being any more responsible after the fact now that it's gone. Now, if there's a silver lining to anything, those of you still holding Bitcoin, well, the supply just got cut a little bit more there because those coins will never be accessed again. Anyways, let's move on here. Coinbase, the Coinbase wallet. Now, Coinbase wallet is separate from the Coinbase online exchange where you can buy and sell cryptocurrency. So just keep that in mind. So Coinbase has its own mobile wallet, and they added a new feature, or are adding a new feature, which is taking your private keys, adding a password, encrypting them with a password, and uploading them to the cloud. Okay, so again, those of you new to cryptocurrency, your private keys it's like making a second key to your house. You still want to protect that because anybody who has that key can get into your house. Now, what you're doing here essentially is you're creating a key to your money and you're putting it in the cloud. And so if that cloud storage gets compromised, which cloud storage services do all the time, it's a matter of somebody trying to get your password and unlock the key to your money, which is not super difficult to do if you are bad at making passwords, if you don't make a secure password, which most people don't. People in general are pretty bad at making passwords, and there are programs that can brute force an encrypted file and just try over and over and over again different passwords until they find one that works. If you have a weak enough password, it depends how many digits, depends whether you're using upper and lowercase, whether you're using letters and numbers, things like that. But a lot of people use really weak passwords, or they'll use a password that is used on multiple services. And if a service, for instance, Yahoo, that was one that got compromised big time, like that gets compromised and all of those passwords are leaked, somebody could use that same password that they've obtained from that other service on the wallet that they know contains funds. And if they're one and the same, well, hey, there goes your money. So the long and the short of it, this is stupid and a terrible idea. And I can't believe that this is something that a cryptocurrency company is saying, this is fine. This is fine. So it's not, and don't do this. Let's move on. In some funny news, I guess, WikiLeaks is roasting Craig Wright, the liar claiming to be Satoshi Nakamoto. So Craig Wright posted a blog post. He is essentially saying that he doesn't believe in WikiLeaks, things like that. He doesn't like WikiLeaks. He doesn't like really anything. He's saying that Bitcoin was never meant to be anarchist. He said, more importantly, I'm strongly opposed to criminal markets and bucket shops. Ross Ulbricht, founder of Silk Road, and others like him are criminals. What else did he say here? He says Bitcoin was not designed as an anarchist system. It was designed to allow trade and commerce, but within the limits of the law. He says a blockchain does not stop government taxing and does not bring down banks. It was never designed for such a purpose, which is hilarious because in the first transaction, or the Genesis block hard-coded into it, is the headline of the day, which is Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for the banks, which is a direct jab at the current banking system and a direct pointer to why Bitcoin was created, because of the banking system, and to uproot it and replace it. Insane. Anyways, so WikiLeaks basically calls him out on this. I'll read what they tweeted. Serial fabricator who claims to have invented Bitcoin, Craig S. Wright, now claims that Bitcoin was always pro-state and that he always worked for the prosecution as he tries to raise money for a business project and escape court action. Craig S. Wright is a proven serial forger of documents, claiming that he is the inventor of Bitcoin. He has been repeatedly caught. This has been independently verified by WikiLeaks at the time of his first claim and subsequently, and they provide a screenshot. And it says somewhere between 2014 and 2015, Craig Wright went back and altered an old 2008 blog post to make it seem like he was working on cryptocurrency in 2008. So the original blog post, at the very end, tomorrow, and it gave us plans, whereas in the edited one, he said, tomorrow, back to blah, 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 I have a cryptocurrency paper out soon. And it's just ridiculous that he's been called out time and time again, and he keeps on going, and people believe it. So, I don't know. If you're a Craig Wright fanboy, then give your head a shake. Finally, in cool fun news, Rodolfo Novak, he is the founder and creator of the Open Dime, which is kind of like a Bitcoin bearer bond, a way to physically give somebody Bitcoin without the ability of the giver of the asset to go back and sweep the private keys. It's like this little USB device. Really cool. Check it out. Also, the Cold Card wallet, which is probably one of the safer hardware wallets that you can use. Anyways, he successfully sent a cross-border Bitcoin transaction without internet or satellite. How did he do it? He did it via ham radio. So cool. And he did it through a snowstorm. Insane. Really, really cool. So it just kind of goes to show the resilience of Bitcoin, that even if all internet was cut off and the satellites, like the Blockstream satellites, were taken out of orbit, you could still just use the Earth's own ionosphere to blast a radio wave and have somebody receive a Bitcoin transaction. So super cool. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap it there. We had a lot of stuff to cover today. Please do remember, hit up my website if you want that hashtag Bitcoin Twitter shirt. Link is down below. And I will see you guys tomorrow for your daily session.